So, what is the cost of living in Indonesia? That's what today's video is all about. More specifically, the monthly fixed cost of living. This will be housing, utilities and transportation. We have left out health insurance for our next upcoming video. Just like other costs such as food, schooling, visa and health.
So how much money do you need each month to live in Indonesia? I guess it all depends on how you picture yourself living there.
If you are coming from North America, Europe, Australia and some other northern countries in Asia, there's the cat, hi, then with your current income you will have a pleasant life in Indonesia.
Well, Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia and is predicted to be the fourth largest economy in the world by 2045. The average salary of an Indonesian is around $850 today.
That's right. So $850 a month isn't that much, right? No. So you will automatically think that the cost of living in Indonesia is pretty low as well, right? But the poverty rate is high. The average is based on those earning little on one side, let's say $8 a day, to those who earn a lot on the other side. The second half earns so much that they basically don't know what to do with their money. Because that's what you see in Indonesia and especially in Jakarta. The huge contrast between poor and the rich.
So with that in mind, it doesn't mean that you can automatically live as a king when you, let's say, have a monthly income of $2,000. Because let's be honest here, as an expat or digital nomad, you're going to have certain standards that you are not willing to lower. And that's okay, but you need to make sure you can pay for it and live in Indonesia as long as you plan to.
Yeah. In one of our videos, which you can go to and clicking on that little pop-up above us, you can see how we made the mistake to think that $25,000, that's around 2,000 a month, would be enough in order to live in Indonesia for a year.
You will be surprised how much additional costs there are when living in Indonesia. Like in other videos, today we're going to focus more on Jakarta and Bali because that's where most of the expats or digital nomads live.
Yeah. If you are thinking of another city or region, generally speaking, the cost will be half. Except for westernized or imported goods. This can be the same or it's even more expensive.
So let's check out the costs. First, we're going to start off with housing. We covered this topic in one of our earlier videos, but you need to ask yourself, how do you want to live? Are you single? Then in Jakarta you can find nice condos between $600 to $1,000. Whereas in Bali there are these community villas where you can get a nice room for $400, but you will share the facilities with other people, including the pool area. This is a great opportunity to meet up with new people.
Yeah, that's for sure. So if you are a couple or a family, then you should at least go for a house, right?
Yeah.
Even when you're single, this is a great option too, if you can afford it, of course. But what type of house are you thinking of? Do you want to live in a big villa or a house with or without a pool? You know, all these factors can make a difference between either 500 a month or 1,000 a month.
Yeah, in our opinion, as a family, if we have to live in Jakarta for, let's say, work or whatever reason, we would try to make sure we had a monthly income that could support a rent of at least $2,500. Because in a busy, crazy city such as Jakarta, we would want to have a quiet place to live in with a garden and pool. Yeah,
that's right. And for Bali, where the lifestyle is completely different compared to any other city, we wouldn't mind living with our son in a housing complex, you know, preferably located near his school. And I have to be honest, pool will be nice too.
That would be an extra bonus.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, these houses located in these complexes can be around 100 million rupiah a year, right? and there will be around for $550 a month.
Yeah, this type of housing is far less expensive than the places you see a lot on the long-term villa rental websites.
Yeah.
On these websites you can find gorgeous designed villas, but expect to pay between $1,000 to $3,000 a month for a 3-bedroom villa with a pool.
But as a family, we have already decided for ourselves that we will not be living in Jakarta, that's for sure. So we will not need a budget monthly rent for $2,500, per month, with the house, with the pool, or whatever. We would instead look more towards Bali or even perhaps Lombok, that's the neighboring island. It's getting super cool actually, and there are lots of things to do.
I think we would at least go for $550 rent a month. That's a bit more than $6,600 a year. To be on the safe side, to just first start off.
I think so.
This will be a nice house in a housing complex in an area of Sanur or Jimbaran, depending on where our son would go to school. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good estimate if you look at these areas. Yeah. All right, utilities, electricity, water, garbage disposal, etc. If all these things are not included in the rent, then you should expect to pay around 1.5 million rupiah, and that's about $100 a month. But that's of course depending on the type of house and location.
Yeah, exactly. For instance, in Jakarta it can get pretty hot, so you will be switching the air conditioning on whenever you are indoors. Whereas in some parts of Bali it can feel so much cooler, so you don't need to have the air conditioning on every day.
Yeah.
So this can save a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
And if you have a pool, then you can imagine that you'll be paying more for water and electricity as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. You will probably also need the internet at home. At least we do, since we have our online business. So good and stable internet connection is very, very important. If you want to know how we earn money online, check the links in the description below.
Lucky the internet connection is quite quick in Indonesia, however it isn't always reliable.
No.
Sometimes it can be down for half of the day. However, there are quite a number of providers in Indonesia such as First Media, Telkom Indonesia, MNC Play, Biznet, Iconnet, XL Fiber and so on.
Yeah. Again, prices of course vary depending on what package you want. They offer packages for just the internet only, but there are also ones including cable TV and a large number of channels, or ones that are ideal for gaming, whatever you want. That said, prices vary. It could be around $15 a month to, let's say, $45 a month. But there's also the ultimate fiber optic internet for around $70, right?
At least, yeah. If you have to arrange the internet yourself, ask around what others use. Information from real users is always more valuable than browsing through the internet provider websites.
Yeah. I guess for us, we are going for, I think, an average of $40, for internet, and maybe $100 for the other utilities. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good estimate.
Yeah, but this always depends if we're going to Bali or whatever island.
Oh, and we also almost forgot the SIM card for your mobile phone. You have to add that as well.
Yeah. Good point, good point.
So what do you
That's
say?
also a fixed monthly cost, There are lots of providers in Indonesia, and so far we have very good experiences with Simpati, right? And this is something from Telkomsel. Telkomsel is also the most expensive, but it does have the best coverage. A monthly plan can be around, I think, $6 to around $10,
So to be on the safe side, let's go for $20 for the two of us.
Yeah.
So in our case, the monthly fixed cost for utilities will be $160 per month.
Yeah. So next on the list is transportation. Depending on what type of visa you are on in Indonesia, you can either buy or rent a car or motorbike. For instance, if you don't have a resident visa or something similar, or a kitas as they call it in Indonesia, then you're not allowed to register a car under your name, unfortunately.
Yeah, when we were living in Bogor, we bought a car but registered it under my aunt's name. When the registration paper had to be renewed, she had to do it. So if you want to do it like us, make sure you know the person and know if he or she is willing to help you more than just signing the papers. Luckily, there are agents who want to do it as well for you. It will avoid a lot of hassle, but it will of course cost you a bit more to renew.
Yeah, that's right. If you are able to buy a car one way or the other, buying a second-hand car from a dealer can be more expensive than second-hand cars compared to where you're coming from. You know, for us, the Netherlands, for instance. In the Netherlands, you can get a pretty good car for around $4,000 US, but in Indonesia, we paid $9,000 US for a second-hand car. Can you believe it? But the great thing about buying a decent second-hand car in Indonesia is that we were able to sell it for almost the same price. And that was a year later, because it was a popular brand and model. So check out which model holds its value. In Indonesia, everything from Toyota holds its value.
Exactly, those are the biggest players in Indonesia.
So what to do if you cannot buy a car or motorbike? Well, in Bali, for instance, it's popular to rent a bike. You know, a motorbike does only hold 2 people though. But if you're an advanced driver, then you can drive with a child in between, like the Balinese do.
Yeah, and if you have older kids or more than one, you will need 2 motorbikes.
Yeah.
The cheapest option is to rent it for longer than a month, let's say 6 months. Then you will be paying a far cheaper price, especially if you pay it all up front.
Of course, yeah.
In Bali, expect to pay around $60 to $80, depending on the type per month.
Yeah, this per month. Yeah.
Make sure if the maintenance and insurance is included if you rent long term.
Yeah. And what if you want a car instead? Expect to pay around $250 a month, right? For rental. Yeah. Of course, then we're talking about 6 months or longer. The price also depends on the model. Avoid car rentals such as Sixt and Hertz. Go for the local ones.
Yeah. As for public transportation, you have minivan buses or smaller buses where you just pay around 50 cents for a trip. You might take this type of transportation when you are living in Jakarta or any other city because it is an easy way to get from A to B within the city.
Yeah.
But if you plan to live in Bali, then you're probably never going to use this type of vans because you'll be using your motorbike more often, I think.
Yeah, and there's no air conditioning. It's pretty hot in this small minivans.
Yeah, it's not really comfortable.
No, not really. So,
but cheap.
But cheap. Hey, taxis are also an option and very popular in Indonesia. The base fare is 7,000 rupiah, followed by 4,000 rupiah per kilometer. This is excluding the cost of using the toll road, of course. Besides the taxi, you also have the Gojek and Grab service, you know, which is often cheaper than a taxi. You know, it's similar to Uber, but in Indonesia you can either go for a motorbike or a car. That's great.
For instance, from Jimbaran Beach to Ubud, it will cost you about 65 cents by Grab bike or $50 by car. Well, that's pretty good considering it's almost 1.5 hour drive.
Pretty good.
There are parts in Bali where Gojek or Grab isn't allowed to enter without a passenger. So double check if you will be living in one of these areas because then you are not able to be picked up from home.
Yeah. As for Jakarta, public transportation has improved over the years and can be a great option for you too. The MRT and Transjakarta are very good nowadays. A monthly pass is around $12 a month.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So the type of transportation that you will use will affect your monthly cost, of course. We would go for a car if we were living anywhere in Indonesia other than the islands Bali or Lombok. Then we would go for the motorbike.
Yeah. If we would live in Bali, I think we would be renting 2 motorbikes, right? Yeah.
One should be at least one of those maxi scooters so we can sit comfortably with the 3 of us until our son gets too big. And the other can be a regular scooter, which is much cheaper.
Yeah.
So in total, we would budget around $150 for rental for the bikes per month.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the occasional Grab for the weekend trips, of course.
Don't forget. Yeah.
So that would be around 100 a month for the Grab trips.
Guess so. Yeah, I think that would be right. So total, we're talking about $250 a month for transportation. You know, so that's quite a bit. So that's about the monthly fixed cost when living in Indonesia. When summing up, our expected cost for housing, transportation and utilities will be almost $1,000 to pay for our monthly bills. Wow, that's pretty much the same as in the Netherlands if you think about it. And that comes as a surprise, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, our transportation costs are pretty low compared to Indonesia. You know, we use the bicycle and we have an electric motorbike, so we hardly use our car, you know, only to visit friends and family, you know, who live further and further away. So, transportation costs will be the same in Indonesia.
Yeah.
What else?
The internet is the same as here in the Netherlands, but utilities would be far less for us in Indonesia. How about the rent in Indonesia? Is it also more or less the same as we pay here? Do you think?
Don't think so. You know, luckily we bought our house in Rotterdam before the city became really popular. You know, our mortgage is pretty much the same as what we expect to pay for rent in Indonesia. But here in the Netherlands, you have so many taxes and the electricity bill is crazy at the moment. But that's a whole different topic, right?
So as you can tell, life isn't always cheaper in Indonesia. So why even consider moving to Indonesia?
Good question.
Because your daily life will change and you will experience new things.
Yeah. And with the same amount of money you need in your country, you will have a far better quality of life in Indonesia. And that's what it's all about.
But this video hasn't covered all costs of living in Indonesia.
No.
We still need to figure out food, schooling, health and visas.
Yeah.
So that will add up to the total.
Yeah, that's right. To see how much we and maybe you will need to pay for the cost of living in Indonesia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Because we will post information about all the other costs soon. Only then can we see how much our monthly income must be if we would move to Indonesia.
Exactly. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you for watching and we hope to see you again in our next video.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.